Hi guys and welcome back. Today I'm diving in with a mixed media painting, which I'm actually really excited about because I'm trying to mix together a couple of my favorite mediums into a way that will hopefully have the best of all the worlds combined into one technique that'll really have the look and the feel and the application that I want it to have. But let's go ahead and jump in and give a big thank you to the sponsor of this video today, which is Skillshare. I love them. I've worked with them in the past and I've personally absolutely loved their product. What they are is an online learning community. There are thousands of classes available and they have a premium membership option, which is less than $10 a month if you sign up for the annual, and that has unlimited access to their classes, which is something that I find really exciting to be able to go through and see all the new things that I can learn and enjoy and things to jumpstart my own creativity. So it really is an amazing resource just to get thinking about all these things that are possible. And I do have a little gift for you guys. I have a link at the very top of the description that'll take you over to Skillshare where you can sign up and get 2 months free for the first 500 people who head over there. But I will be talking a bit about a specific class that I took over on Skillshare and the things that I learned from it. And that again is something that it really makes me feel so motivated and excited about artwork. It's when I can dive into a very specific thing to focus on and improve on and learn. That is what makes me feel really artistic and creative rather than getting stuck into just repeating myself. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the actual topic of today and the topic of the class that I watched over there, and that is mixed media. And I was really excited to find this particular class over there because she goes into very good depth on the actual science behind how to choose the mixed media that you're using, how to order it, and how to actually apply it, which is something that I think we all, as we try and experiment things, we start to pick things up and it sticks and different things kind of work for us and we remember those when we pick them up. But at least for me, I have a feeling of how things should be, but I can't quite put it into definite words or define it exactly why one medium goes before the other. So it was really informative to watch her talk about it and what actual things to pay attention to so that you know how to form it and how to compose your pieces. But anyways, the class that I'm actually talking about is by Kendyll Hillegas, and I'll actually have a link to the class that I took as well as her YouTube channel. She has a YouTube channel and I love it. I was really excited actually to find that class that she had over on Skillshare since I already knew her from here on YouTube. But anyways, I highly recommend it. If you do end up signing up for Skillshare, that you go check out that class. It is really informative. So it did get me thinking about how I approach my mixed media and what can I do to be better at it, because mixed media is really something that I love. It's not something that I've always been open to, but the more that I've combined things and looked for solutions for things that other mediums just didn't have, the more this seemed like a really fascinating way to find the best approach, the best way to solve my problems. And I really love the feeling of problem solving in artwork. It just feels so exciting to accomplish something and to have a problem and to figure out the solution and then have it turn out better because of that experimentation, because of that extra thought that you put into it. So for today, I decided that I wanted to combine a couple of mediums that I have used a lot of and I have used together in the past, but I haven't really gotten to a point where I felt like I just really embraced both of them in the best possible way and had this perfect marriage between the two. So today I wanted to paint a painting with watercolors and gouache, and the type of gouache that I'm using is actually acrylic gouache or acrylic gouache, and I'll have a link down in the description to the set that I'm using as well as the watercolor brand that I like to use. And the difference just for that type of gouache is that it's not nearly as water sensitive as your typical gouache, the artist gouache. It's a little bit closer to like a really, really thick watercolor, whereas this is a little bit closer to a combination of normal artist gouache and actual acrylic painting. So the real thing that I wanted to focus on is, and I think the thing that really makes mixed media exciting is to look for those traits that you love the most out of each one and then maximize that, and then look for the weaknesses and find ways either around that within that own medium or with a new one that's incorporated. So I love, of course, the soft blended nature of watercolor. And I love how transparent it is. And since today I'm working on a wood panel, I wanted to be able to do a bit of a wash in the back with the watercolor so that the wood grain shows through, and it's a bit of a marriage between the color of the wood itself as well as the paint on top, and it would be really harmonizing. And I had this like immediate image in my head and I loved it. So I wanted to do that for the background, but I wanted the figure to be very strong and opaque, especially on top of this wood color, this wood grain. So if I had gone in with watercolor for everything in this painting, then she would end up a lot more muted and all of the values would be brought down. So that gave me the attack plan. I wanted watercolors for the background so that wood grain would still show through in certain areas and it would have a little bit of softness and blending. But then for the areas that I really wanted to have it impactful and strong, that would be done in gouache mainly. And one really important thing to remember, and Kendyll talks about this in her class, but you have to think about all of the different media that you're going to put into your painting and then think about the best possible solution for the substrate, for the paper or the canvas, whatever it ends up being. It needs to be something that's compatible with all of them. And I like to think about it where I figure out which media is going to be the one that I use the most, the primary one, with the other ones being kind of the additives, the things that solve certain problems, but the main media is the one that I like to pick the canvas or the paper for, and then I just make sure that it works with the other ones, even if it's a little bit less perfect of a match. And something to keep in mind if you're going to be painting on top of wood or any unfinished surface is to make sure that you apply gesso on top. Gesso just seals it so that no moisture will enter into the wood, and it also makes for a really nice surface to apply paint to. So that was really important for this. I didn't want to paint on top of just the raw wood and then have it really soak up a lot of water. So I applied that, and I knew that it would help the watercolor stick, but it would really, really help with the gouache as well. And speaking of that kind of an application with the clear gesso, I do make sure that when I'm done with this painting, I will apply a fixative so that it seals everything together, especially with like this kind of a light approach to the watercolors where it's not on a paper type that like absorbs it and locks it in. So I want to make sure that I'm applying a really nice protective coat on top of it. And I actually really liked a lot of different parts about this piece, but maybe one of my favorite parts is where the wrappings around her, I wanted that to really show through to the background and have that initial watercolor wash be the main color for it. So I loved that. And then being able to go back at the very end, which was actually necessary to apply a second layer of watercolor that created more contrast on the bottom, more rich colors, as well as of darker value. It allowed those wrappings to really stand off of the background. And I forgot to mention, but the goddess that I'm painting today, her name is actually, I believe it's pronounced Tate. It's spelled differently in different places, of course, but I found it where it was spelled Tayt, as well as a few other variations. But she's actually the goddess of weaving as well as the wrappings during mummification. So I really wanted to be able to show that with a few different weaving forms. I also did a little bit of this like abstracted design of almost a weaving of two weaving shapes together on her face over her eye. And I want to talk a little bit about the color balance that I had for this piece. So for this, she has a really dark like blue black hair, and I wanted it to have a little bit more grounding in the bottom half of the painting to give a little bit more balance to that. So that's why I did the smaller ropes that are just tying her hands together. That's the same color as her hair. And originally I tested out like that yellow orange color for her hands instead, but I just was not feeling it. I actually spent probably the most time working on that and then trying to find how to blend it into the rest of her skin, and I just was not happy with it. And then I stepped back and I actually have a digital color comp for this one, and I just tried out a few different variations for that extra color of her hands, like if they were painted, and I was much happier with the red color. It was a lot more impactful and strong, and I actually had already decided to give her red eyes, so they They fit with the color comp and the color balance a lot better once I change them back to red, or to red. And don't forget to check out Skillshare. Again, I highly recommend it. I love them. I do have a link down in the description for the first 500 people for 2 months free over on Skillshare. And yeah, I do have this original painting available, as well as prints of her at my art shop. There's a link right down at the top-ish of the description. And there's also a link to my Patreon page, which is a great way to get a little bit extra exclusive content, as well as to help support this and the channel and the artwork that I do. But that's it for today. I will be back next Wednesday with another video, so I will see you then.